Hi there, everybody. This is Maria Lupita, psychic medium, and today I'm going to answer a pretty tough question. So let's just go there. If this is God's work, then why do I charge? So in today's episode, that's the question that I want to answer. And so I will do my very best to give you the full awareness of what I've come into and come to understand that has really helped me to put my life back into balance. So let me start first of all by saying that I was born into just like a lot of traditional New Mexico families that would be considered, struggling or in poverty. My dad was a teacher. We were a family of 6. My mom did some jobs that were either temporary or seasonal. She was an amazing saleswoman of Avon. Oh my God, she was one of the top saleswomen in the state, and she did an amazing job. My mom was one of these people that we learned how to do so much with so little for so long that she could make miracles out of anything. So we learned. But I really did struggle financially. I wasn't taught how to manage money. I wasn't really shown that money is just an energy. Money is just like every single thing out there, but for some reason we put a lot of weight on it. And so my experience was poverty consciousness. So for the first 40 years of my life, that was the experience that I had until I knew better. So after my near-death experience, I was 27 years old. And about 3 years afterwards, I was really especially struggling because I was so open. I was sensing and feeling people that I worked with, and I didn't want to. I would know things, feel things, and I am not a shy person, as you can tell. I have absolutely no problems talking to an entire room filled of people of, doesn't matter the quantity. I have no issues, but I started to feel my stomach flip. I would feel the ears, the tips of my ears burn red. My heart would pound tremendously, and I would start to get all of these images and things. And then I would feel absolutely overwhelmed. My cheeks would get flushed, and I would get hot and start to feel just uneasy until I learned that there is a message there for somebody that is around me. Now, it's been 21 years since my near-death experience, and it's taken an entire process for me to learn how to manage it. It wasn't easy. So 3 years afterwards, I was really struggling. I had a full-time job, 2 children that I was raising, and also just surviving. My husband and I at the time were really just a very young family trying to make it. And all of a sudden, I had this whole other world that I was dealing with. So I had nothing to prepare me. I had no one to turn to help guide me. So I had to seek it outside of myself. And I learned early on, unfortunately, that people who do this type of work, not every single person truly holds themselves in a place of integrity or to the level of integrity that I do. I thought that people who do this work were all spiritual, doing it for the right reasons. And I discovered that that isn't necessarily the case. People who do work like me are considered charlatans. We're considered people who take advantage of others in their deepest despair. There is so much that is tied to this work that it is unbelievable to try to break through. And it takes those bad few that really make it horrible for the pure few. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, I had to learn how to work with this, how to do it in balance and in harmony and harm to none, including myself. And that I did not understand at the beginning. So after 3 years, 4 years into this, I went to see 4 different doctors. They wanted to prescribe me antidepressants, thinking that I'm going crazy. If you watched a couple of videos, I've already shared that there was a diagnosis of mental illness within my immediate family. My extended family. My mother's dear brother, oh my gosh, my dear uncle has been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And at the time, had I come out telling doctors that I was hearing things and feeling things and hearing words and feeling sensations, that I very well myself could have been diagnosed the same way and heavily medicated and would have gone in an entirely different direction. luckily, I followed my gut and the guidance and did not go in that direction. So instead, I really had to research this for myself. I became an insatiable reader of any book I can get my hand on that would help me understand what was happening to me. So I only read 2 books. I think it was Dan and Brinkley about his near-death experience. And that was the only one that I really read at the time. I also looked into Dr. Brian Weiss, who was talking about past lives, and I also went to a seminar of his. I went to New York to the Omega Institute there in Rhinebeck, New York. And I went to South Korea on a 10-day meditation tour. I've traveled to many different places. I went to Chicago to take a workshop with Sonia Choquette. I've done so many different things to just try to help myself understand myself. This didn't start out with me ever thinking that I would do this for another person. It was just simply to help me manage what I was going through. That was a really hard time of my life. So I finally embraced it. I didn't like it. I didn't like what was happening to me. I thought it was a curse, and this curse kept getting worse. And so I really had to pray on it. And I remember distinctly having a visitation from my grandma Mary telling me that everything was going to be okay. I also had a conversation with my cousin Jeanette, who also has a lot of these abilities as well, and had a conversation with my grandma Hinoveva when she was still living. So I got to experience my grandma's wisdom through my cousin Jeanette's experience that kind of put my mind at ease. And so I had to make a decision. Okay, God, if I can't get rid of this, help me. Help me learn how to work with it. Help me learn how to use it in balance with harm to none. And so my understanding, if this is God's work, then why should we charge? I couldn't consider doing something like that. So I was working full time. I had 2 very young children. My husband was working graveyard. So we were also trying to develop his own business. And so if you can even imagine, oh my gosh, I had a high pressured full-time job raising all these, raising my beautiful children. And in a way, in a sense, jokingly, and I mean it in jest, also there with my ex-husband. We were kids ourselves, raising young kids, trying to survive life. And so I made that decision of, okay, I am going to just go ahead and do this. I'm going to continue working full time. And so anytime an opportunity came up when people asked for my advice, I made myself available. And before I knew it, I started getting phone calls from other people that I didn't even know. So it started off with coworkers, and then they would start telling their friends and their family. And then I would start getting all of these phone calls of saying, well, you work with so-and-so and you told them this. Can you please also work with me? And so I would, and I did. So I started getting all of these phone calls and all of crazy hours, also while trying to manage an entire life. And so I was told that, in order to create that barrier, because people that I was helping kept coming back again and again and again, as if I was like some kind of, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. And I don't want to diminish the experience because I learned a lot. It was just very difficult because I was in a lot of demand, and I learned early on how incredibly draining that is. And so to help myself, I started off with a very small, little, tiny fee. I think my first one was like maybe $20, but I gave everything that I could. So then it went to, well, how are people going to find me? I put a really teeny tiny little website together. And so I still kept my fee the same. And so I had no idea how to run a full-on business, much less, a spiritual business and everything that entails, and then everything that was about to happen. All I knew is that this was happening. People were reaching out, and I loved it. I felt myself come alive. I felt myself finally fulfilling my life's purpose, and it gave me such incredible joy. And I thought to myself, if I could do this forever, wow. but I'm still working full time, still had a mortgage, two in fact, two vehicles, raising two children, and still trying to build a business. My ex-husband's business at the time, and then much less opening up an entire new business. But that's what I did. So I went in full on, had a little teeny tiny office in Santa Fe, and then before I knew it, I had overhead. Now, if you run a business, or if you don't even, I'm going to just lay it out that there is a massive amount of overhead that's involved. Entire stuff behind the scene that I didn't even consider. So if I'm going to have phone calls, I need a phone line. If I'm going to start having, doing, computer work and managing invoices and all of this, I needed a computer. If I'm going to meet with people and I didn't want to do it in my own space, I needed to have an office. Now, if I have an office and these people are going to come in, I need furniture and I needed rent. And part of the rent was also that I needed to get business insurance. And so on top of that, I am also having to pay for, all of the taxes and all of these things that are coming up. And my fee is minimal. So before I knew it, I am working my full-time job, struggling as a young family with two mortgages, two vehicles, two kids, two businesses now, and also trying to survive. I was working and actually had to use the money that I was making from my full-time job to compensate for the expenses that I was having for my business because I wanted to help people. And before I knew it, I found myself absolutely depleted, defeated, feeling deflated, absolutely drained and burned out. And with nothing to show for it, and thinking, this can't be. If I have this struggle, how can I help all of these people? I did not understand that, oh, goodness gracious, there is balance to everything. And what broke the camel's back, the straw that broke the camel's back, is that it was a Saturday. It was probably the beginning of the month. I knew the rent was due. I was already late. I had two sessions that day, and I had made arrangements for both of them to pay me cash. Well, it turns out that one of them, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it to the bank before she had her session, so she asked if she could pay me my check. Of course, I said yes. Now, this is Saturday, late afternoon. Everything's closed. And I've got my two young kids, and I already wrote that check out on Friday, to have that rent paid because I knew these sessions were coming up on Saturday. So there I went to the store, and I could not even finish buying my sack of groceries. A blessed soul behind me at Walmart gave me $3 to pay for the gallon of milk that I almost put back. Bless you, whoever you are, because that has always and forever stayed with me. And I will always and forever pay that forward when given the opportunity. Obviously, this strikes a really deep chord within me, so bear with me, because I know that a lot of people who do this work have also had the same struggle. So, after that experience, I prayed that something has got to give, that if I am to step into this world, how can I make this happen? And the first thing to understand is that every single one of us are born into this world with an incredible God-given gift that we are all intended to give. And every single one of us has earned the right to earn a living, a quality life where we have our basic needs met. And it's so sad that the state of the world, that is not indeed the case. There are so many people living in the United States, the supposed American dream, that are barely surviving, not able to make it. I was one of them. And I am not ashamed to say that, because that affects so many people. So I had to come into understanding that everything is in balance. The universe is in constant desire to create balance. Wherever there is a deficit on one end, it will always want to create the balance on the opposite end. The best absolute place to be in is in the place of the center, where you're in neutral, where you are neither extremely, extravagantly, grotesquely wealthy, out of balance, or the exact opposite and extreme, where you don't even know if you have a fresh cup of water or a meal or clothing or shoes. So may we be neutral and allow it to flow. It's about creating balance, and I did not understand the balance. And here's the saddest part, is that I came to find that not everybody was honoring what I was giving, because it was so minimal, because I made myself so available that it was completely out of balance. I left myself depleted, and while being able to assist others. And if I am not able to hold myself to fill my own cup up, how in the world am I able to help anybody else fill up their own cup? So I had to learn and understand. Business 101. There is so much overhead that is involved that I can't even begin to describe or explain. If you own your own business, you don't need me to tell you. Location, fees, taxes, supplies, materials. There's so many different subscriptions, equipment. The list goes on and on and on. And then there's all the monthly, fees and all of the utilities and everything that goes along with that. It is an entire business. So my fee is not entirely everything that I get. Out of that, I pay it forward. I am actually able to allow space to be able to get the word out, to be able to share my videos, to help other people. And I have so much in store that I'm barely scratching the surface, is that I find myself telling people things that are repeated, and giving them the consistent advice again and again. And so I want to make that efficient for people, accessible for people, and affordable for people. So believe it or not, you may think that my price is high. I know that your time is valuable. I know that your money is valuable. I know the struggle that it takes to be able to make the sacrifices that you need in order to meet with me. I know the level of the responsibility of that, and I do not take that lightly. And I tell almost every single person, sometimes I forget, that I know what it takes. So may this investment that you made multiply for you tenfold. May we have abundance for all, because there is no lack. There is no limitation. It is a mindset in our hearts, in our feelings, and our thoughts, our beliefs. It has taken me a lifetime to overcome. So, yes, this is God's work, and I do it with absolute integrity. And I offer myself up to you, and I will honor you with everything that I have in the time that we are given. But I will also do it within balance for myself. There is so much that is involved in the service that I offer. Half of my day, if not more, is spent in deep contemplation, in deep meditation, in going into these mystical moments, in communion, in receiving guidance. If you have created a session with me, oftentimes your loved ones come in before you even do. There are so many things that I physically experience, things that happen throughout the day that I am constantly monitoring and managing, because your loved ones or your guides are there. Oftentimes, I will experience emotions I do not understand, only to discover that the person I have a session with later that day, or the next day even, it was entirely about them. So I am completely open and accessible, and that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot for me to be able to manage and sustain. Now, that's on me. That is something that is a requirement of the service that I offer. If I am not in a clear state of mind, I am in no business to be able to provide clarity to you. So it requires constant work on myself. And that is something that I have to work on at a level that I can't even begin to describe. There's so much that I do that is behind the scenes, that is involved with the building of this. And so there's so many different moving pieces and parts. There are other people that also assist me. And so I also provide them that blessing and pay it forward to them as well. So there's so much more than you can begin to possibly understand or imagine. And so may we understand that for now, I am very comfortable with charging the rate that I do. And in there, I will honor you in that. I will give you everything that I possibly can. I will give you additional content that you can actually look to and help yourself. So in preparation of your session, in follow-up and after your session. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can ask any person that I have had the honor and the joy, the privilege of being able to give a session for. Is that never once have I ever said, oh, I've given you more time, now you owe me more. It is up to me to manage the amount of time that I give you. And the greatest gift that I could give to anybody is my time, because it's not just my time. I am literally enfolding into time and space to give everything to you through these messages. And so that is the reason. Yes, this is God's work, and I do it with the highest level of integrity. And so may this begin to open up your mind to begin to understand that you are also valuable, and that may you too also find that right divine alignment within yourself to be able to open up those avenues of your blessing, because you do have this divine gift that you also are here to offer up to the world. And it's so hard and so sad that people who have so many gifts and talents that are unable to provide for themselves. So I learned that in order for people to honor and mutually understand and receive the benefit of what I am giving, to have that perfect balance, to have that energy exchange. So because there's so much involved in what I give and offer, because there is all of this legitimate business overhead that is and does make this possible, it's all part of it. And so just know that energy exchange, I will honor you. And in that, may you also understand now why the fee. Because there is that energy exchange. And in this world that we live in this day and age, that is the energy exchange that we give, is money. Everything in this world operates by money. So, the lights are on. I am fed. I'm alive because of that. Every single person is entitled to have their own lifestyle, their own life, their quality of life. And so this isn't a money-making machine, because if you actually look out there and really do your research and find other people that do this similar work as I do in their own way, they charge far more than I do. I can't speak to the rate that they charge. I can only speak to mine. And you don't have to take my word for it, but every single person that I've worked with can attest to this themselves, is that I will not complete the session until the session is complete. And if I give you extra time, I almost always inevitably do. So you might be paying for an hour, but I can tell you that your session will approximately go just about an hour, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes much longer, depending on the situation. And that is up to me to manage. Some of you have been the beneficiary, have benefited from even an hour longer. And never once have I ever declined that, withheld that, or ever, tried to come back in some way. I guess that's the best way I can say. So I am doing much better at honoring myself in managing the time, because that is so much energy that I'm trying to manage. And so I have learned over the course of these years to set alarms for myself, to honor the time that we have, to honor the time that you are given, to have that balance and to have that appropriate energy exchange, so that we feel that we have come to the table and you walk away feeling that you have received everything that you have hoped for, with an open mind, managing and releasing expectations, only in the hope that I can provide some kind of peace to you. So, yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to express and share part of my experience and to explain. So thank you so much. I hope I continue to see you here, and if I have an opportunity to work with you. Blessings, and may it bless you and pay it forward and multiply tenfold. Happy Sunday.